So in today's episode, we are going to talk about grass in Arizona. And I know you might be thinking, come on, you're a realtor, what's the big old deal? But I get so many phone calls from people that have moved here. When they purchased their home, it was a lush, green, beautiful lawn. And then a few months later, they're going, oh my gosh, what happened? The grass died off. It's completely brown. I don't know what to do. This is awful. And great news is that it's nothing awful. It's pretty standard. There's a couple things to know about grass in Arizona. So thank you for joining me today with the good, the bad, and the ugly about living in Arizona. Whether you already live here, you're thinking about moving to Arizona, I've got the inside scoop for you. So in all fairness, I did own a landscaping company for about 10 years. And yes, I have overseeded a bazillion lawns myself, as well as taking care of thousands and thousands of homes over the years and keeping them having gorgeous curb appeal, lush green grass. So I know a little bit about the inside skinny on this topic. So having lush green grass, of course, is a vital component if you're thinking about selling your home. And then if you've just moved here, it's nice to know what to expect and what to plan for. So let's jump into it. Here in the Valley, we usually see a summer grass and a winter grass. Now, once in a blue moon, we will see a yard that has something called a St. Augustine grass. This is a very distinctive looking grass, has kind of a feathery blade. It does last all year long here. If you were to Google it, it says that it can handle the extreme high heat. However, I have found in my experience, it really does better in a yard where there's decent amount of shade coverage. Without that, we have found that it just tends to struggle quite a bit in the full sun open areas, regardless of what the sod yard will tell you. So the other two types of grass I spoke about, the summer grass and the winter grass, is what we're going to spend most of this video talking about. But the basic premise of it is that it can withstand our extreme heat, does really, really well with low water usage, and it's the most common grass that you will find here in the Valley. Now, the interesting thing about it though is while it loves our extreme heat, does extremely well in full sun areas, it does not like our winters. As a matter of fact, it will go dormant. And this is where we get the phone calls as a realtor. I'll sell a home to somebody in August. The grass is lush, it's green, it's gorgeous. And then right about November, the phone will ring and they say, hey, what's going on? My grass is brown. It died. Something happened here. And the reality is it's not dead. It's simply dormant. Once the summer temperatures roll back around, if the appropriate water is applied, that stuff will green back up. It's actually pretty hard to kill Bermuda grass. It takes quite an effort to do so. So never fear if your grass went brown, you just moved here in the last year or two, you're not sure what's going on, it's just dormant. As soon as we get those 100-degree days again, it'll come right back. I will say the summer grass can be a little bit more finicky. However, it likes to be fertilized probably once a month if you really want to keep it looking beautiful. So that's our summer grass. Now that it's October though, let's talk about our winter grass. Now, our winter grass that we overseed, and I know this sounds really funny, but we actually overseed a winter grass every year if you want green grass in the winter. And I'm going to tell you what that means. But this winter grass is actually a ryegrass. Now, you'll find that there is a perennial seed and an annual seed. It does make a difference which seed that you use. The annual's a little bit less expensive usually, but the perennial is a darker green. It has more density, it's lusher, thicker, comes in quicker, and more importantly, as a mom that has pets and kids, when they walk across it, it doesn't track that green grass dye. It's not a dye, but that green grass, smudging all over my patio or into my house. So I really appreciate and love a perennial grass. So I mentioned October. You might be wondering, well, what's the deal with October? Well, winter grass is overseeded based on when it will germinate best. And it will germinate best when the evening temperatures consistently are below 65 degrees. But there's a very finite window there. You definitely do your grass sometime in October. A lot of people, when they first get here to Arizona, will pay a landscaping company to come out and just do this one-time service. You can actually overseed the grass, and 10 to 14 days later, you have a beautiful, gorgeous winter grass that has come in. It's incredible how quickly that can grow. Now, on the flip side, if you try to seed a Bermuda grass from seed to dirt, the average germination is probably about a month, and a lot of people don't have a very good success ratio with that. Winter grass, on the other hand, loves to be overseeded. So what does that look like? Well, there's a couple key components to overseeding your grass. Remember when I said that summer grass just comes right back on its own. You really don't have to do anything. Just make sure the water's on correctly and it'll start growing through and it greens right back up. Well, the winter grass is a little more finicky when you go to overseed. You really need to prep the yard to create the most ideal incubation, so to speak, for that seed. So the first step would be actually your landscaper or you'll want to turn off the water to your grass about 2 weeks prior. That just really encourages the Bermuda to start drying out faster so that when you're ready to actually overseed, it's more conducive, easier, quicker for that ryegrass to germinate. So once that water's been off for a couple weeks, then you'll come in with like a weed whacker. You start with a lawnmower, you go as low as you can go, then a weed whacker, and they'll buzz that grass down. It's called scalping the grass. They'll literally scalp it as close as they can possibly get to the dirt. Now, if your lawnmower in the summer leaves a lot of clippings on the grass, they might even have to use something called a dethatch blade to get it even closer to that dirt. You want to get as close as possible. If your landscaper says that they need to dethatch your yard, it's going to cost a little bit more money, but it is well worth it because otherwise you're potentially spending, a couple $100s for winter grass that will not come in very well if it needs to be dethatched and it has not been done so. Very important component of your winter grass that I must mention is that you really need to know that your irrigation is actually working. The reason is once that seed gets wet, it will be vital that it's kept damp throughout the day for those first 10 to 14 days. So your watering schedule will typically be set to come on, every couple hours for just a few minutes. It's not for very long, just to keep that seed damp throughout the day. Well, the problem is if you go to fire up your irrigation system, you get your seed all wet, and then you realize one of your valves or something is not working correctly, you have a problem. You have to immediately fix it right then and there, or you've essentially lost all that pricey seed that was just thrown down on the lawn to germinate because it's going to dry out and die. Timing's important, the scalping's important, the watering is important. Not only that it works, but that it's adjusted just so. And what I mean by that is if you have any puddling in that grass area, it will do what we call float the seed, and it'll float that seed to the wrong spot. So now you have a really lush patch over here and nothing right here. So if it happens to rain within a day of seeding, that can be a problem as well. Now, another part of overseeding is that you get to choose whether you want to put manure down or no manure. It does cost a little bit more to put down the manure, but that's something I always preferred doing in my own yard. I felt like it helped it come in even faster, even thicker, more dense, and it kept the birds off of it a little bit better. Because guess what? As soon as you overseed, you are the neighborhood bird center. They love coming to peck away at your grass seed. So that's it. You'll have a gorgeous lawn. And then of course, once the temperatures start getting up into the hundreds, that ryegrass is not going to like it. It will naturally die off on its own. You don't really have to do anything for it. You just adjust your watering schedule to support the Bermuda grass, which doesn't need quite as much water as the winter grass. And you can have a beautiful lush lawn all year long. One other item I do want to mention is that earlier I talked about it's usually not ideal to start the Bermuda summer grass with seed. Most people they purchase sod and you roll down a sod to create that summer grass for the very first time. And then of course every summer after, it just comes back on its own with very little effort. Now, sometimes it's good to kind of take a look at the timing of when you're going to do that sod, because if it is close to winter grass time, you can actually purchase a sod that is already been overseeded with the winter grass, so you kind of get a 2-for-1 in that situation. The other thing is, if you're going to put down new sod, is to make sure don't skip the sod mixed soil that rock yards sell. That's where you can often get it, because your sod might look great for the first year or two, but if you skip on those important nutrients for that sod mixed soil, the dirt that goes under the sod, you're going to really see it between years 5 and 10 with that Bermuda grass just not looking good and not being very healthy no matter what you do. And part of that is our soil here in Arizona is just rock hard. We actually have sections that are called caliche. It's like, you're jackhammering through cement. It's crazy hard, and so you want to do anything and everything you can to promote some healthy roots for your new sod as you're putting it in. So if you're thinking about selling your Arizona home anytime in the near future, reach out to me. Most people start connecting with me 3 to 6 months prior to listing the home so that we can really strategize the best time to put it on the market, and for any of those landscaping needs that you might have, that we talk about the most efficient and cost-effective way to tackle those, whether you would want to put in winter grass or not put in winter grass, if there's a massive tree that needs to be trimmed back off of the home because it's touching the roof line, anything along those lines. I'm happy to chat and help you make sure that when it's time to put that home on the market, your curb appeal is top notch so that we can get you top dollar. Thanks so much for subscribing, and I'll be sure to cover more landscaping topics that are relevant to Arizona homeowners in my next video.